So this is technically video number 3 on slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. And what we're going to do here on this back side of our notes, this is the actual homework part, we're going to be graphing every single one of these slope-intercept form equations. Keep in mind that if it's not in slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, if it's not like that, like number 5 is not, you're going to have to change it to get it into slope-intercept form. Because only when it's in slope-intercept form could you see the y-intercept and the slope. If it does not have y by itself and it doesn't have the slope-intercept form mx plus b, then you will not be able to see the slope. You're not going to be able to see the y-intercept. So let's go through these. And what I recommend is for you not to watch this video until you get stuck on certain questions. Then you could watch it. So number 1, it crosses, you always start by looking at your b value, which is 3. So that tells us that it crosses the y-axis at 3. So here's 0, 1, 2, 3. It crosses right here. Let's put a dot right there. So that's our b value, our y-intercept value. Now from that point, we need to look at the m value, which is -1/2. Now keep in mind that the m value has a -1 as the rise and a 2 as the run. So what that means is from this point, am I going to go up or am I going to go down? Obviously, I'm going to be going down. Why is that? Because it's negative. So I'm going to go down 1 and over 2. Now you're probably thinking, which way do I go? Do I go to the left or do I go to the right? You always look at lines from left to right. So you're always going to the right. So go down 1, over 2, put a dot right there. And then after that, you just draw your line through those 2 dots, put arrows on it, and you're done. You graphed it. Simple as that. So let's try number 2. So if you're watching this as a class right now, you might want to maybe just see a couple of examples and then hit pause, and then you could work on it on your own, and then maybe the last couple of minutes of class you could watch the rest of this video. So on number 2, do we know what our slope is? Yes, we know that the slope is -1/2, so that means it's going down 1 over 2. And do we know what the b value is? Yes, crystal clear, the b value is 1. You see it's in the form y equals -1/2 x plus 1. Y equals mx plus b. So let's go to the y-intercept of 1 and put a dot right at the y value of 1. Now from that point, do I rise or do I drop? It all depends on your slope. And what kind of slope do we have? We have a -1 over 2. So I'm going to go down 1 over 2 and put a dot right there. So down 1 over 2, put a dot right there. Now I'm just going to connect the dots and I have my line. Now let's say you feel like your line's not big enough. You could keep going with the slope down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2 and put a dot over here. And you could even go backwards if you wanted to. Over 2 up 1, over 2 up 1, over 2 up 1 and put a dot right there if you wanted to. Okay, and then you just draw your line, going through all those points. That way you can make the line as long as you want. So like I said, I only want to explain a couple of them. Let's take a look at number 5. For example, number 5, what's your slope? Your slope is not 3. Your y-intercept value is not -2. You cannot identify your slope and your y-intercept unless it's in slope-intercept form. Okay. Once again, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Again, form means the way it's organized, the way it looks. Y is by itself. There's a number in front of x. That's your m. And there's a number that's being added or subtracted at the very end. That's your b, which is your y-intercept. As you can see right here, the y is not by itself. So you need to first get the y by itself on number 5. So let's get rid of that 2 by dividing everything by 2. And when we divide everything by 2, we have a new slope-intercept form equation, y equals 3 divided by 2, you can't do it, so let's just leave it like a fraction. There's an x on it. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. So now that it's in slope-intercept form, we could clearly see that the m value is 3 over 2, positive, and the b value is -1. So if we know the m and we know the b, it's really easy to graph. Just go to your b value first, which is at -1, remember that's your y-intercept value, and it crosses right here at -1 because that's a -1 at the very end. So it crosses at -1. Now from this point, I go up 3 over 2. So from this point, again, the line crosses through here. It might cross like this. It might cross like this. It might cross really steep up, really steep down. It all depends on your slope. The steepness is the slope, remember? So the slope is 3/2. So I'm going to go up 3 over 2. So from this point, up 1, 2, 3, and then over 1, 2, and put a dot right here. And of course, draw your line right through those 2 points. Put arrows on it, and you're done. Okay. So what I would recommend right now at this point is to hit pause and work on the rest, and then towards the end of class, watch the rest of this video. Or if you're at home and you saw these examples, you understand it, go ahead and try to do numbers 3, 4, and the rest of these. And then if you get stuck, go back and watch the rest of this video, which will have most of them explained. So hit pause. So here we go for the explanation. Hopefully you guys already attempted to do all of these. This one, the m is 1/2, the b is 1. So you start with the b value of 1, that's the y-intercept, and it crosses right here at 1. So let's put a dot right there at 1. Now from that point, my slope is rise 1, run 2. So from here, I'm not going down 1, I'm going to go up 1 and then over 2. So because it's positive, I'm going up 1, and I always go to the right when I'm graphing. So connecting these 2 red dots, I have my perfect line. If you wanted to extend it more this way, you could go down 1 over 2 this way. It's the same slope but backwards, using the same slope pattern but backwards. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to leave it like that with some arrows. That's all you have to do, guys. It's way easier than actually making a table and plugging in numbers, doing math, and getting out outputs. So it's way easier than that. So right here on number 4, look how easy it is to graph. Where does it cross? It crosses the y-axis at -1. What do I do from that point? Well, my slope is 3, so I better make it look like rise over run, 3 over 1. So let me go up 3, 1, 2, 3, over 1, put a dot right here. And then after that, we simply draw our line. You see, it's easy. Let's try number 5. Wait a minute, we already did number 5. Let's try number 6. Number 6 is definitely not in slope-intercept form, so let's start by subtracting 1. It cancels out. Well, it doesn't cancel out. 1 take away 1 is 0. And what you do to one side, you do to the other side. So what do we have left? We have y equals 3x minus 3. Now I did these with different colors so you could clearly see that the slope is 3, technically 3 over 1, and the y-intercept, the b value, is -3. So we start with the b value of -3, that crosses at -3. Let's put a dot right there at -3. And from that point, I rise 3, I run 1. It's positive 3, so I'm actually going up. So I'm going up 1, 2, 3, and then over 1, and I put a dot right there. And of course I connect my dots. Put some arrows on both sides of the line. That way it represents that it continues forever. Let's move on to number 7. Another one that does not have y by itself. So let's get it in slope-intercept form. What you do to one side, you do to the other. Y equals, the slope is 4, it has an x on it, and a -3. Okay, so this one again crosses the y-axis. The y-intercept is -3, so let's put a dot at -3. And from this point, I'm going to go up 4 over 1. So up 1, 2, 3, 4 over 1, and I'm going to put a dot right there. And also draw my line. Let's jump to number 8, shall we? This one's definitely not in slope-intercept form. Let's get the y by itself. Subtracting 2 on both sides, let's rewrite it. It's going to be 3y equals 6x minus 3. And now let's get rid of that 3 in front by dividing everything by 3. Everything by 3. So now my slope-intercept form equation will be y equals, this is really a 2 with an x, 2 times x, minus 1 at the very end. Minus 1 at the very end. So our slope is up 2 over 1. If you want, you could put it over 1. And our y-intercept is negative 1. So let's go to negative 1. Let's put a dot at negative 1. And from this point, I'm going to go up 2 over 1, and put a dot right here, up 2 over 1. So here's my dot. Let's connect the dots, put some arrows. We're done. Let's move on. So let's jump to number 9. Number 9, so easy, you might get confused. Yes, you could clearly see that the m value is the number that's being multiplied with x, so m is definitely 2. You could put it 2 over 1, so you could think of rise over run. But what's the b value? There is no number that's being added at the very end, so we could put a 0 right there so we could see that the b value is 0. It's going to cross the y-axis at 0. So let's put a dot right at 0, and from that point I'm going to go up 2 over 1, and I'm going to put a dot right there. And of course connect the dots, put some arrows on it. We're done. Number 10, again, the b value is going to be plus 0. The m value is negative 3, so that really means negative 3 over 1. Okay, so let's put a dot at the y-intercept of 0. Let's put a dot right there. And let me actually show that from that point I'm going to go down 3 over 1 and put a dot right here. So down 3 over 1, put a dot right there. Just connect the dots, put some arrows on it. We're done. Number 11, y equals x. This one's really easy. So easy you might get confused again. Now the slope is the number that's being multiplied with the x. What number is being multiplied with x? You can't say 0, because that means that there would be no x. There's actually an invisible 1 right there, right? So 1 times x. What about the b value, the number that's being added at the very end? Well, there is no number added at the very end, so you can put a plus 0. So now you know that the m is 1 over 1, and you know that the b is 0. So and that's enough to graph. Let's put the y-intercept at 0. It crosses at 0. From that point, I'm going to go up 1 over 1. So from this point, up 1 over 1, put a dot right there. As you could see, even if I were to draw my line, it's going to be a very short line. If you want to make the line longer, keep using the pattern of the slope. Up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, put a dot there as well. And you could use that pattern backwards to make it longer the other way. It's up to you however long you want to make it. Just draw a line through all those coordinates, put some arrows on it. We are done. Moving on to number 12. Number 12, there's many different ways of looking at this. The logical way is understanding that this is saying y equals 2. So if you were to go to an input-output table, XY table, the only thing that this equation cares about is that your y values are 2. And x, since there is no x, you could put in any values you want for x, right? You could plug in a 0, 1, 2, a negative 3, whatever. Anything you want for x's, as long as your y values are 2. So if we actually graphed our first coordinate 0, 2, second coordinate 1, 2, third coordinate 2, 2, it is obvious that we get a perfectly flat line, horizontal line, going through the y-axis at the value of 2. And that was our shortcut from notes, from last week's notes. If you have y equals a number, you go to the y-axis, you go to that number, and you draw a horizontal line through it. Now, if you have x equals a number, the only thing that this cares about is that your x values are 2. So if you actually went to a xy table, you need to put a 2 for x, a 2 for x, and a 2 for x. Now, what about y? Notice that there is no y, so y could be anything you want. Y could be 0, 1, and 2, okay? And of course, the shortcut that we learned last week on our notes was if you have x equals a number, go to your x-axis, go to the value of 2 in this case and draw a vertical line right through it. Okay, so let's go to the x-axis, let's go to the value of 2, and simply draw a vertical line right through that coordinate. Okay, if you did go to the coordinate 2, 0, 2 zeros right here, 2, 1, 2 on the x, 1 on the y, it's right there. 2, 2, 2 on the x, 2 on the y, it's right there. Obviously, it's that same vertical line. So the shortcut is, if it says x equals a number, go to the x-axis, go to that number, and draw a vertical line right through it. If it says y equals a number, like on number 14, go to the y-axis, go to -3 in this case, put a dot right through it, and draw a horizontal line right through it. And there's a graph of y equals -3. You could do the xy table and set your y values being equal to -3, -3, -3, and you could plug in any numbers you want for x, but that's the graph that you're going to get. Let's move on to number 15. Number 15 is not in slope-intercept form, so let's get rid of this -3, -3, -3. It's important to remember that the number in front of x is a 1. So let me rewrite this. It's going to say y equals, it's going to be -1 over 3 with the x on the side, and then plus 2. I should probably do this in red since we're used to seeing the y-intercept in red. So keep the x in black. So our slope is -1/3, and our b value is plus 2. So if we know that, it's really easy to graph. It crosses at 2, crosses at 2, whoops, right there. And from that point, I'm going to go down 1 over 3. Down 1 over 1, 2, 3. Put a dot right there. And connect your dots with arrows at the end. Final one, let's get the y by itself. So we're going to add 2, of course, with the numbers, not with the letters. And -2 and +2 is 0. So what I have so far is -4y equaling -3x plus 12. My final step would be to divide everything by -4. And this would give us our final slope-intercept form equation, y equals +3 over 4x with a -3 at the very end. And now we could clearly see that our m is 3/4 and that our b is -3. So it crosses at -3. Let's put a dot at -3. And from that point, I'm going to go up 3 over 4. So up 1, 2, 3, I'm at the origin. Over 4, I'm at the edge. So this is up 3 over 4 from this one. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's connect those dots and put some arrows on it. And we are done with this worksheet. Hopefully this helps and you guys really understand y equals mx plus b.